Okay. So I wanted to come back through and I wanted to talk about a few more things. But first, let me dip back into the whole Nicole Murphy symbolism and the whole thing with Leela Rashawn. I want to dip back into that a little bit. The word that I could not think of when I was making that video earlier was assimilation. Nicole Murphy is the assimilation of what the soulless people look like for the most part, and how their energy operates. Not necessarily, let me take that back, not necessarily how they look, because I don't want to make this about her being a light-skinned woman. That has nothing to do with it. Okay? Either you're a low vibrational motherfucker or you're not. Doesn't matter what your skin tone is, it doesn't matter what your gender is. Either you're a low vibrational motherfucker or you're not. Okay? So what I wanted to say was is that assimilation is what is happening. Nicole Murphy is an assimilation, or she is the assimilated person or woman. And that assimilation is being programmed into the minds of black men. So black men are attracted to that assimilated type of being. Okay? That is what I wanted to talk about. That was the word that that I could not think of earlier. Okay? But in this video, I want to touch on a few things. The first thing I want to touch on is saints and what a saint really is and what it's not. Okay? Now, a lot of people think that a saint is someone who is perfect, who lives a perfect life, who's a do gooder, and who does no wrong. And that is not a fucking saint. That's a fucking robot. Okay? See, we've gotten so whitewashed by European standards on what a saint should be that we really have forgotten what a saint really is. Because if you really, really knew what saints were, you would know that some saints have done some of the most horrible motherfucking shit. But the thing is what makes them saints is not their perfection, but it's their imperfection. The saint is the sinner. That's what makes them a saint. Okay? For example, and I like to use him as an example, quite often. Christopher Barry, the son of Marion Barry. Um, a lot of people gave Christopher a lot of flack because he had drug problems. He had issues with drugs that was publicized, and ultimately that caused a lot of turmoil in his life. Okay, because he was not a rotten person to his core. He just had struggles. What makes him a saint, and I'm going to say he's a motherfucking saint. I'll say he's motherfucking Saint Christopher. I'll say that motherfucking shit. But what would make him a saint is despite his motherfucking imperfections, he still was helping people. He was still going into the black community where he was raised, that he was connected to. He was trying to get black men jobs that had been incarcerated, that had been thrown away and cast away. Because when heterosexual black men are thrown away and cast away, nobody gives a fuck about them. They just out there on their motherfucking own, and nobody gives a fuck about them. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, it's real, and you can get offended by it. I don't give a fuck. I'm saying what it is, and I'm just making a point. He was helping his community, despite his motherfucking imperfections. He was still helping his community, and that's his motherfucking redemption, and that is what makes him a saint. Not because he did everything right, not because he was a perfect motherfucking human being, but because of his imperfections, he still was able to accomplish something in helping the black community. Same thing with his father, Marion Barry. Marion Barry also had struggles with drugs, but but he also helped the black community tremendously. He was a tremendous help to the black community here in DC. No matter what none of you motherfucking weirdo, pathetic, low self-esteem racists got to say about him, okay? He did a lot to help the black community here in DC during his tenure as mayor, okay? Despite being publicly scrutinized. Those are your fucking saints. They didn't go around in the streets of Calcutta giving out rice to, poor people like Mother Teresa. They don't that's not what a fucking saint is. We understand saints as being people with imperfections, but because they have imperfections, they can relate to your average motherfucking person. Same as with Tupac. A lot of people say he promoted gang lifestyle or whatever the case may be. A lot of people say he was this. A lot of people say he was that. A lot of people say he was that. But in my eyesight, he is a saint. Not because he's perfect, not because he's innocent, but despite his imperfections, like with Christopher Barry, Tupac was able to reach people's minds and able to change people's hearts. Because when you can change the heart, you can change the mind. And that's a quote from Martin Luther King as well. So a saint, Martin Luther King, he was a drunk. He fucked around on Coretta Scott King, allegedly. Let me say that. He drank. He did a lot of fucking shit from my understanding. But at the end of the day, although they said he was an agent or whatever the case may be, and he probably was, and that's what it is. But at the end of the motherfucking day, he was a powerful black force enough for them to take him out. And I saw a video where they said that he survived that motherfucking shooting, and they arranged to take him to a hospital where a racist white male predator doctor murdered him. They spit on his body and they smothered him. It's a video on YouTube talking about that, and I believe it. But that's another fucking story. The point that I'm making is that saints have nothing to do with being a perfect motherfucking human being. That is what white people have taught us. Okay? Because they align themselves with and they fashion themselves with being a perfect human being because this physical matrix is this is all they have. Their energy can't exist beyond this matrix for most of them. Those are facts. They don't have the genetics to exist beyond this unless they earn a fucking soul. Facts. Okay? It's just what the fuck it is. So when you think of a saint, you have to think of the sinner as well. Because the saint is the sinner. Just like the goddess Isis. They refer to her as the whore, the mother, the sinner. Isis has so many different layers to her. She's the crone of death. But most importantly, since it's the topic of this video is about saints, Isis is the saint, the sinner, the whore. She's all of that. She's all of that. Okay? In the Bible, when they talk about Mary Magdalena, they're talking about that symbolically represents Isis. Because that is what she was. Now Mary Magdalena was not a prostitute as they labeled her in the Bible. She was a rich woman who was single. Okay, she was a rich woman who was single. Supposedly, they say, and this is all symbolic, but supposedly she was a rich woman who was single, and she just liked to party and she had a lot of money and so forth, and that was looked down upon. But the point that I'm making is this: Mary Magdalena probably didn't even fucking exist, but the point that I'm making is this: is that she symbolically represents a form of the whore, the sinner, and the saint. Okay. Now I'm not talking about people, just out there doing whatever. What I'm saying is this: when you think of a saint, stop thinking of it as someone that's perfect, that's a perfect human being. That's not a saint. Because if you peel back the layers, okay, 5,000 motherfucking years from now, when all of us have, will be dust, okay? Some of these people that we know, like Tupac, Christopher Barry, his father Marion Barry, okay? People like Darren Seals, people 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 years into the future, they're going to look at these people probably as saints. And they're probably going to think they had perfect lives, but they didn't. They weren't perfect people. And that's what I'm saying about saints. Saints do not define human perfection. That is not what being a saint is about. Being a saint is rising above your imperfections and going on and doing what you do despite whatever imperfections that you may have. And it's about being able to touch people's hearts and being able to change people's minds despite having those imperfections. And that's what Christopher Barry did. That's what Tupac Shakur did. That's what Marion Barry did. That's what Darren Seals did. And that's what a lot of other, powerful black men and women did. Okay? So I just wanted to, I wanted to say that because a lot of times, people get saints mixed up with being a perfect human being. And that's not what a saint, that doesn't define a saint. That's not what a saint is. A saint is a person that can change people's hearts and ultimately change their minds despite of their own personal imperfections, despite their own personal fucking demons. Okay? I know for sure my motherfucking ass won't be no motherfucking saint. I'm gay. So, I don't expect people to look at me as a motherfucking saint. Okay? But I'm just making this video because I felt compelled to, because, oftentimes when we look at people, and we put them or we synchronize them into the energy of being a saint, we oftentimes think, oh, that person was perfect. Oh, that person must have led a perfect life. They're so nice. They did this, they did. No, 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 no. That's not what a saint is. A saint is a person that can reach people, that can make changes, that can change people's paradigm, change people's thoughts, change people's minds, change people's hearts, and can ultimately change realities despite their own human flaws and imperfections. Okay? That is what a saint is. And I just wanted to say that. I'm going to come back with another video and I'm going to talk about something else that was a confirmation for me in another video that I did on here maybe a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure, but I'll come back with another video about that. All right.